Welcome back. You've seen our next guest traveling around a lot from city to city. New York, Tampa, Chicago. Those are just a few of her recent jaunts. And one of the side effects of this infantile government shutdown has been more stresses and strains on our domestic air travel. Now throw in a little weather, and it can't help but to begin to start to affect businesses, right? Everything from TSA to air traffic controllers, it's being impacted. Secretary of Transport, Sean Duffy, has reiterated that the safety is job number one. Now, if that means slowing down or even canceling some travel, he says, well, then so be it. And we've also heard about SNAP benefits and that fiasco and the lack of government data. But travel, well, especially for business, that could be the next casualty. Now, let's bring on our next guest and get a firsthand from her. She's got a lot of experience here. Please welcome to the show, Rebecca Walser. Rebecca, thanks for coming on. Love to have you. And I know you're a busy girl. You're always traveling around. I used to do a lot of travel. I'm too old for it now. My knees don't work that well. But I'm worried this is going to start to affect American businesses. I mean, we could go back to the COVID era times. What are your thoughts here, and what are you seeing anecdotally?
I mean, I'm super concerned about it, Scott. Honestly, I'm flying out of the country tomorrow. I am going to Vegas this month. I'm, of course, in New York this month. So for me, this is really alarming. And I was thinking about it. I was thinking about when we shut down for coronavirus. I mean, I am the one of the crazy people that was on like a 747 with 3 people on it going to, I traveled in the 5 countries and 6 countries actually in the 2 years of 2020, 2021. So that's a scary prospect. But what I remember is our government really bailing out the airlines, because the cash burn on airlines that are grounded, that aren't flying, is unbelievable. People do not understand. So my thought is, if we were willing to bail out the airlines or help them out when no one was flying, what about the airlines contributing to pay for these federal workers on air traffic control, because it's necessary for their operations? And I think it makes perfect sense for the airlines to step in and help while this is a temporary situation with the government. And normally back pay is always authorized when they finally do resolve it, and that could pay the airlines back. I just don't feel like the flyers should have to go to the airport feeling like, is it safe for me to actually fly? And that's how we're starting to feel.
Yeah, I don't blame you at all whatsoever. And I think, you know what? I love it when somebody comes on the show with an actual good idea that could help solve the situation. And you're right. I mean, last week, just for an instance, we had a guy, a housing expert on, and he thinks that the government, like we do with 529s for school, I mean, school's a big chunk of a parent's paycheck, and there should be a 529 for homes or for a down payment. I thought, hey, that's a great idea, right? Well, now you've come up with something. I think it's a great idea. There's no reason why there's enough cash flow with all the airlines that they could put something together to at least help with this with these air traffic controllers. Because you know what happens? I know it's a stressful job. I've known that some of these air traffic controllers when I lived in Chicago. It is a stressful job. But then on top of that, you start not getting paid, and you have to worry about what you're going to do to put stuff, food on the table at home. That really starts. And now Sean Duffy, the Secretary of Transportation, has said that he's seeing more and more people call off because they just can't handle it. And that's going to be where we start to see the stresses and the strains, because they're going to start canceling flights if they already haven't. Now, I had some people in town here in Nashville just last weekend. Nashville was bad on Sunday. They didn't have a ground stop, but TSA was a nightmare. And I imagine that's not really, there's a lot of the same stories around the country. I would guess that TSA, I'm sure you probably got Clear or Globe or whatever it is that makes you fly through. But I can imagine that's just been I bet that's been an absolute nightmare.
I mean, so far in the airports that I've traveled in, I haven't seen any difference yet in TSA, but I did take off the other day. I think it was LaGuardia, and I noticed that it was a very long process. I normally fly to LaGuardia home. I was flying to Chicago, and it took us over an hour and a half to actually take off. And that is completely unusual. Maybe it might be normal for Newark, but it's not normal for LaGuardia. And I thought, oh my gosh, should I be going to Chicago? Should I just go straight home? And like I said, I've got 3 trips this month and Thanksgiving. And, I think with the exception of July 4th, Thanksgiving is the highest travel season of the year. And this is not a time to not have air traffic controllers, not only staffed, but like you said, Scott, not stressed. Listen, if I'm going to work and I don't know how I'm going to feed my kids that night, that's what I'm thinking about, not my job. So we've got to have these people having a basic minimum income to be able to buy food and cover their shelter costs. Otherwise, they're their brain is not on the planes and the air. It's on how am I getting groceries in my cart and in my cabinet at home. And that is not where we need their brains. We need them on the air traffic because it's already, like you said, a very stressful job, high propensity for problems. If you're not 100% paying attention, this is not where we should be. And I frankly am disgusted by this. The fact that we can't get a resolution, blame it on whoever, whatever side. The bottom line is we have got to have a backup funding, emergency basis for when politics are being played, because this is not political. This is everyone needs to be able to fly. Everyone needs to be able to get the minimum basic to get home and safe. And business can't stop because, there's Democrats that don't want to fund our military and give our people their SNAP benefits. This is just unacceptable all the way to Sunday.
I said in my monologue, infantile is the word I use. It drives me absolutely nuts. And just so everybody knows, this continuing resolution, the CR that they call it, is clean. There's nothing that's been put in it as far as pork goes. They voted for it 13 times. Yes, they voted for it. They said the Democrats said yes 13 times to the same CR while Biden was in office. Now they have the same CR now for this government shutdown, and they've put it up for vote 13 times, and all 13 times they've said no. We need 5 Democrats to come across the aisle, and then they can open up. That's the easiest thing to do. Forget about all this other shenanigans. 5 Democrats to come across the aisle and vote with the Senate Republicans, and we can get this thing done with. But it's absolutely crazy that this is what we have to have happen. We had a guy call into my radio show last Friday. He works for the Bureau of Land Management out west. He hasn't been paid, and it's starting to stress him out at home, and I can totally understand. Yeah, you're going to get back pay, but that doesn't help me put food on the table now.
Exactly.
And these people need to know. It really bothers me, and I think that nobody's going to be the winner. Nobody's going to win. You know what? Good luck with all the travel. I know you're busy, but that means it's good, right? You're out and about, so it means you're keeping up. All right. Thank you very much for being on, Rebecca. Rebecca Walser, Walser Wealth Management down in Tampa, Florida. We'll see you again next week.